Number 5. The Camouflage Cloud. Alright, truth seekers, our first clip up today comes to us from Instagram, and I know, but hear me out first before you discredit it and watch this clip and then tell me what you think. User the UFO God, and look, maybe it's just the name, but I'm inclined to trust them, posted this video recently, and it's been illuminating. In the video, we can see something in the clouds moving, or rather, the clouds themselves moving in a way that almost makes it seem alive. If anyone out there has seen Jordan Peele's Nope, that's the first thing that I thought to watching this clip, and mostly why I wanted to include it in this video. It brings up an interesting thing to consider. We tend to only think of UFO sightings as little black boxes zipping up through the sky carrying passengers from another world, but what if the UFO sighting was the alien itself? You know what I mean? You follow along? An organic, non-humanoid entity capable of changing shape in ways that our little primitive human brains just couldn't comprehend. Look, I know I'm mostly summarizing the plot of Jordan Peele's brilliant Nope here, but it's an interesting thing to crunch on, and when you're watching this clip, it's hard to think of anything else. I mean, look at the way the cloud moves. It definitely doesn't look like any cloud I've ever seen. And what is there to suggest that extraterrestrial life will fit in neatly into our idea of what they should look like? I mean, we think of flying saucers just because that's what pop culture tells us, but it could be anything, really. There's also the possibility that whatever we're looking at is some incredibly advanced cloaking technology masking a craft. I mean, invisibility cloaking isn't as sci-fi as you think. Prototypes for cloaks are being developed by militaries around the world today. Let me know what you think of this footage down below in the comments, because it had me scratching my head and rubbing my chin, making all kinds of hms and ha's. And if you like what we're doing here and you want to see more UFO content and wild speculation, well, I have got some great news for you, my viewer. I've got loads of UFO videos and I've got tons of vague speculating from yours truly. All you gotta do is hit subscribe. Number 4. Area 51. Our next clip comes to us from Nevada, specifically near Groom Lake. If you're not super familiar with the geography of Nevada, and why would you be unless you're from there, if I told you that Area 51 is located right on top of Groom Lake, would that catch your attention a little bit? You know, the top secret government black site that technically doesn't exist. The infamous base said to be home to all manner of extraterrestrial activity. That's enough run up, I think. Let's check out the clip. Now, anything coming out of Area 51 is already pretty suspect. But this is really weird. In the video, we can see a series of flying lights hovering high above the desert dunes. Bright lights in the desert sky is one thing, but in the video we see what looks like them forming together. A series of lights merges together to become one larger one flying around. So what could it possibly be? Drones flying around? Voltron? Now drones seems like it would be the most likely answer if it was anywhere other than Area 51. I'm just saying. Whatever's happening here has to be a top secret. Could this be experiments with technology recovered from beyond the stars? Now there are countless conspiracies surrounding Area 51, but one of the most recurring and popular ones is that it's where UFO technology is stored and reverse engineered to develop new technology and systems for the US military. Perhaps even pilots could be trained to fly alien craft. Whatever's going on here, the likelihood of us ever finding out is next to impossible. If you've seen our video on Area 51 secrets, you know that they keep everything wrapped tight as a knot down there. Nothing they don't want you to see is making it out of that base. That won't stop us from trying to get a good look. Number 3. Bizarre light patterns. Now our next sighting comes to us from the stars themselves, specifically during a live stream of the ISS, the International Space Station for the uninitiated. The stream is simple enough, a live stream view out of a porthole of the space station, offering a round-the-clock look at the stars. It's relaxing and fascinating, and I recommend you check it out. But it's also a window of opportunity into a world of unexplained phenomena. One astute viewer was watching the stream late at night when they saw something incredibly bizarre. Watch the footage, I think you'll know exactly what I mean. We can see a cluster of lights moving bizarrely across the screen in a pattern all in unison together. Now this camera is pointed downwards towards the Earth, so some commenters have suggested that possibly what we could be seeing is intense lights shining up from the Earth herself onto the night sky, and while the realist in me can see where they're coming from here, the paranormal investigator in me is fascinated by the possibility that maybe, just maybe, this is something a little bigger than a weird light pattern. Maybe someone in the comments who knows more about lights and stars can help me out with this, but to me, this cluster of lights moving seems like it's something, man, you know? Could this be another example of extraterrestrial cloaking technology? It's far from the first time astronauts have reported seeing strange things up and around the ISS. I have to imagine the International Space Station is probably a hot spot for extraterrestrial activity. I mean, aliens coming to Earth is one thing, that's on our territory, but our big station up in the stars, That's their neighborhood. That's their backyard we put that up in. I'm sure they want to come out and see what that's all about. I wonder if aliens see it as like a funny little tourist destination to check out. Take some photos with. Who knows? Number 2. Lieutenant Gorman's UFO dogfight. Now, not much happens in North Dakota. Fargo is probably a lot more known as a Coen Brothers movie and a slept-on FX series than it is known as a town where anything of note happens. Unless, of course, you count the occasional UFO sighting. In October of 1948, Lieutenant George Gorman of the North Dakota National Guard would make history and inspire theories for decades when he claims he got into a dogfight with an alien craft. He was flying above the town of Fargo, North Dakota, when he saw what looked like an aircraft about 500 feet below him. He radioed into air traffic to try and ascertain what it was he was looking at, and was shocked to hear back from Mission Control, who told him, well, there shouldn't be any other planes in that area. Naturally, Gorman flew in to investigate. He reported that it was a tiny object, some 6 to 8 inches in diameter, blinding white and completely round, blinking on and off. He says that as he approached this strange bright object, it charged towards him. He pursued it as best he could, but when it looked as if the object was going to crash into him, it shot upwards at a 90-degree angle. He attempted to pursue it, chasing it 14,000 feet into the air, only for it to disappear inexplicably at that mark. Later that night, the air traffic control tower reported seeing that exact same bizarre light at the airfield. Gorman touched down and told his superior officers that he had no idea what it was he encountered, but that he had reason to believe that whatever he was pursuing had thought behind its movements, that it seemed to be making decisions, conscientious choices, and it was reacting to what he was doing. Lieutenant Gorman would live out the rest of his days fairly normally, but no doubt in the back of his mind, he must have always wondered just what it was he encountered that fateful night. Number 1. Tic Tac sighting. If you're a UFO enthusiast, you probably already knew about this, but I'll never stop banging on about this because it's the craziest thing that's happened in years. The Pentagon publicly revealed that they've been tracking UFO development for years, putting some serious weight into the UFO discussion. Besides doing more to legitimize UFO discussion than anything else, like ever, it also provided us with a bevy of sightings from government agents to pull from. In 2004, a pair of Navy pilots tracked a series of UFOs for weeks on end. According to their reports, these objects would appear suddenly at about 80,000 feet in the air and then descend rapidly towards the Pacific Ocean, eventually stopping at around 20,000 feet and just hovering. They would either drop out of radar range or shoot right back up into the sky, which is pretty bizarre behavior. These entities were monitored for weeks before 2 fighter jet pilots were officially sent in to investigate the phenomena. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slight, who flew out to try and get eyes on it. What they found would confound the veterans. The men reported back that the object resembled a giant Tic Tac, an unidentifiable white-colored oval-like aircraft about 40 feet long. Far, far too big to be a drone, and doesn't really sound like any aircraft I've ever heard of. The craft was jumping around erratically, staying just out of reach of radars, but not moving in any one particular direction. The pilots agreed on a rendezvous point to touch down and discuss whatever it was they had just seen, but as they were heading towards it, the UFO flew towards their rendezvous point at a breakneck speed before disappearing entirely. Commander David Fravor said it was unlike anything he had ever seen before, and the whole experience had weirded him out. Completely understandable. I think if I ever saw a giant Tic Tac spiraling erratically through the air, it would kind of affect me too. So what do you think? Any ideas at all? Because that sounds like pretty hard proof of a UFO. Number 5. Something falling over Montana. It seems a week's worth of sightings of strange crafts flying over the US and Canada just wasn't enough to fill anyone's appetite for UFO content. There's always something strange afoot or something strange falling from the sky. Just this week over Billings, Montana, residents have been concerned after something mysterious fell from the sky. Footage captured recently shows trails of orange smoke, thick, falling from the sky. Residents have been left in the dark without much official answer as to what had happened, and if this object was connected to these other objects that have been shot down at all. Luckily, through the internet, we're able to take a look at Billings residents' thoughts and concerns through it. On a Reddit thread dedicated to the sighting, multiple users recorded some strange going-ons around the city. Multiple posters reported that there was an increased military presence, with loads of reports of seeing military aircraft flying around overhead for days prior and after. Residents of Billings on a Facebook group asking questions about it noted an increase of unmarked black SUVs around the area as well. Could this be a little cover-up? Do we have a development of a modern-day Roswell on our hands? It's definitely a bit odd amidst all that's currently going on with strange UFO sightings. We haven't really heard so much as a word about this on mainstream news stations, or maybe they think we've all just had enough of UFO coverage. Well, not us, not Top 5 Scary. Personally, I'll be watching this with great interest. So I'll pass this one on to you guys though. What do we think exactly is going on here? Any Montana natives who might be able to help us out just a little bit? Because it strikes me as extremely odd. What do we think here? Alien craft? Recovered drone? Military testing? Glitch in the Matrix? Mothman? All of these are seeming equally likely right now. And if you just cannot get enough UFO footage, hey, don't worry, neither can we. We've got videos on UFOs, aliens, NASA conspiracies and cover-ups, and tons of true stories absolutely out of this world. Not your scene? No problem. We got loads on the channel and something scary for the whole family. So take a look, subscribe, and stay scared. But stay watching this video because I got more UFOs for you. Number 4, the floating beehive. Now our next clip's origins is a little bit disputed and it's a bit of a mystery as to when and where exactly it was sighted. But what most people can agree on is just how bizarre this footage is. So why don't you take a look with me. This object has been alleged to have been spotted over Denver, but it's also been alleged to have been seen over Spain. Entirely possible it's been over both. This footage has been stabilized and cleaned up as much as possible to try and provide a clear look at whatever is floating around up there, and well, I have no idea whatsoever. It kind of looks like a floating beehive that almost seems like it's got a combustion inside of it. It looks like something is erupting in a flame. And maybe it's just me and my own tired eyes, but it almost looks like whatever this thing is twisting shape and contorting midair in a way that almost makes it seem organic. Now, what I like about this clip is how different whatever this thing is looks like compared to most UFO, UAP footage I've seen out there. More than a few commenters pointed out that they think it looks like a stone face, with a bunch referencing that one episode of Rick and Morty with all the giant alien heads that come to Earth and they do the Get Swifty song. It's a good one, to be fair. Definitely a fair comparison. Unfortunately, even with stabilization and enhancement and cleaning up the video, it's still extremely difficult to ascertain just what exactly it is we're dealing with here. Doesn't seem human in origin, and it definitely seems like it's something that could have been out of this world. So, if anyone's got any insight onto this thing, please point us towards it. Number 3, the floating cigar. I got another bit of stabilized footage of something strange in the air from Reddit for you. Check out our next clip. And may I say a big thank you to the folks out there who are stabilizing their UFO footage. That is leaps and bounds ahead of what we've been doing with UFO stuff for years. No wonder we're making such strides in recent years. This clip was posted to Reddit from a user whose account has now been deleted. Deleted by choice or silenced? Maybe clear your browser history after watching this video, just to be safe. Hey, you should probably do that anyway. I'm not judging you, but you know, make sure. Anyway, let's get to the clip. Take a look. This is definitely one of the more bizarre UFO clips I've seen in a minute, and I spend literally all day in an office watching bizarre UFO clips, so I think that ought to count for something. When you think of a UFO, you kind of think of a flying saucer, cute little dome up top. Or maybe you think of like a cool sci-fi looking fighter jet, but I think very seldom do you think of a floating cylinder going through the air like this, sort of hovering in one spot menacingly. It looks like it's radiating lights, either with a seriously reflective surface, or it's producing them itself and kind of just vibing up there in the clouds. Worth noting is that across several reports of unexplained phenomena and mysterious crafts reported by Air Force and Navy pilots, one of the more repeated ones was strange cylindrical craft, and a comparison very frequently was made of a floating cigar. And whatever this is certainly does look like a floating cigar, enough to give me a bit of pause. But I also read hundreds upon hundreds of alien stories and watch UFO videos all day, so I'm more of a tinfoil hat conspiracist than the average duck. You know what this kind of reminds me of though? Is that little gadget in Men in Black that they use to erase everybody's mind when they see something they're not supposed to. Looks a ton like that to me. Maybe that was the point of this thing. A mass amnesiac designed to quickly flash over the population and erase any recent memories of UFO and UAP spottings. That, or it's just like a weird weather balloon. That's what it ends up being like 99.9% of the time. Number 2, floating triangle. Now our next clip is another one shared to Reddit, and hey, while I'm here, shout out to the UFO subreddit for making finding clips of alien crafts just so much easier than it was a few years ago. You gotta love the information age. Now, keep your eyes peeled for this next one coming up because it is a serious doozy. I had to do a little bit of digging for this clip, put on my newsman fedora, try and get down to business, but from what I could turn up, this footage was captured somewhere soaring over Guatemala City. In the video, we can see what is a pretty clear triangle shape flying through the air with blinding bright lights casting down onto the surface. This clip to me has that feel of UFO footage, you know, the vibe. It looks a bit like something that could have come out of a movie, which does almost make me feel like maybe it's too good to be true. Of course, there's also the possibility that whatever I'm looking at right now is just a very advanced spy plane seen from down below and giving off a very unique silhouette. Like the Cigar clip before it, black triangle UFOs are one of the more commonly reported descriptions of UFOs. In fact, even on the comments of this clip are several commenters stating that they've all seen similar things. Now, obviously, take that with a grain of salt, of course, because they're YouTube comments. No offense to my beloved YouTube commenters, you know I love you. But it does help paint the picture that whatever is happening has happened more than once. Now, my theory for this clip is I think this most likely is something military and advanced, and if I wanted to kind of get out there with my theorizing, which I do, it could potentially be something reverse engineered from recovered technology. Luis Elizondo, who I mention in these videos all the time, is a former US intelligence agent and a notable figure in the world of UFO discussions. And he's claimed multiple times that he knows that the US has reverse engineered craft from recovered UFO parts and has insisted a few times that the craft in particular he is referring to is triangular in nature. Could this be what he's alluding to? Completely possible. Time will tell, of course. And number 1, Hawaii Reentry. I try to save the best clip for last, and I sure hope this doesn't disappoint. If that last one from Guatemala didn't have you convinced that there's tech out there we can't explain, why don't you try this on for size? This recently captured footage came to us from a Redditor, One Gold Breadfruit. Thank you. Take a look at this bizarre experience they caught pulling into Maui, Hawaii. If you're watching this on your phone, crank the brightness just for a few seconds and see if that helps out a bit. It almost seems like what we're looking at is something huge being rendered invisible by some cloaking technology, maybe on a loan from the Predator. What's throwing me most about this clip is just the size of whatever is being caught on camera here. Most UAP or UFO videos, it's pretty difficult to figure out how large something is when you're looking at a blurry dot in the sky. But here, it's almost like we're face to face with what looks like a massive craft. Some commenters have suggested that what you're looking at right now is a satellite re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, citing a particular event in 2008 as proof, though the footage is dated from 2020, so not entirely sure. Some other commenters argued that it didn't look like something re-entering the atmosphere as there was no visible trails of any kind on the craft as it entered. I can't say too much about that. I am not a rocket scientist even remotely. Just look at me. I'm not giving off rocket scientist vibes. I'm a YouTuber and I'm a UFO enthusiast. If you have some insight, I am definitely all ears. But until then, I'll probably just be watching these clips over and over again, pausing frame by frame in a dark basement like I'm Agent Mulder sitting alone trying to get to the bottom of this. I just want to believe, darn it. Number 5, above Las Vegas. Our first clip coming up today comes to us from Las Vegas, Sin City, and possibly a place of close encounters. Now, I wouldn't outright ignore a UFO sighting just because it came from Las Vegas, but it's definitely worth remembering that anyone recording this clip probably was having a lot of fun and, you know, doing some things and probably just lost a down payment on their house, so take it all with a grain of salt as you would any other UFO clip. Like most UFO clips, it's pretty difficult to make out what's happening exactly, but up in the sky we can see something moving through the cloud that sure doesn't look like a bird, a plane, or Superman. We can see a red ring looking down ominously on the streets below like the Eye of Sauron. From what we can make out, the shape looks to be gigantic. You know, impossible to really ascertain from a street level, but but yeah, it's big. It is definitely big. Now, I love the feel of this clip, like the aliens flying overhead feels very cinematic to me, but the skeptic in me has to acknowledge with how many bizarre lights must be going off at any given time down on the strip, it's not impossible that this clip is just a trick of the light, but I can't deny that the clip does look good. Would I bet on this being an alien? I'm not sure, but since it is in Vegas, I'm certain I could find someone who would bet on it. Trouble, of course, though, is I feel like even if an alien was spotted, like walking around Las Vegas in broad daylight, no one would ever be allowed to talk about it since, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It even extends to UFO sightings. Now, if you missed the first two parts of our recent UFO sighting vids, you have got to go catch up. And if that still isn't enough for you, we have got alien videos all over the channel. So click that subscribe button, ring that little bell for video notifications, and don't miss a single frame of evidence from us. Stay subscribed, informed, and scared. Number 4, in Brazil. For our next one, we are going to be headed out to Brazil. And wow, I have absolutely no idea what is going on in this clip, but it is definitely bizarre. Let's get some eyes on it. Can you take a look at this for me? I'd say what on earth is that, but I think it is extremely clear that whatever is happening in this clip is not of this earth. It looks like a ball of like molten hot lava just existing, vibing, floating along in the countryside. It almost looks like it's dripping too, which I think is interesting. Could this be like sparks flying off of a craft or some technology infinitely too advanced for little old me to possibly understand? A commenter on the video made an interesting comparison that I will include here too for posterity, noting that the dripping effect reminded one commenter of the described UFO in the Rendlesham Forest incident, which was purported to have also been dripping something out of it as it flew, which resembled magma. And if you don't know the Rendlesham Forest incident, we've covered it a couple times on the channel. Can't remember the exact titles of the videos, but I definitely have talked about it. The entity moves very erratically, so it's hard to even guess what this could be. The light seems to be like pulsing out of it. Usually you can always entertain the possibility in any UFO clip that, you know, maybe it's a drone or a weather balloon, but for this one, I am out of ideas, and I am more likely to say it's a demon than anything else. So I am officially turning this one over to you guys, comment section. If you can crack this case, you are more than welcome to be my guest, and please let me know if you got any theories or ideas about this one, because I am fresh out of them. Number 3, Guadalajara. Our next video is going to be taking us down to Mexico, in Guadalajara specifically. Originally posted to TikTok, the video is pretty clear, refreshingly for UFO clips. You can see something bizarre flying around in the sky, with a series of lights flashing in a circular, almost like honeycomb-esque pattern hovering above the city. Surveying? Just checking things out? Got lost and should have taken a right turn at Albuquerque? A commenter on the video shot down the idea of it being an airplane, which I know most of you are probably thinking while you're watching this, saying that they've worked in an airfield their whole life and they've never seen an aircraft that had lights on it like that, and it didn't have a beacon on it, a giveaway that it wasn't a plane. Now, some had suggested a possibility that it could be a collection of drones all flying together in unison, but for what purpose, I could not tell you. A very complicated hoax? A military operation? Just for kicks? I think what's getting me about this clip is that the UAP flies in like a perfectly straight line, but isn't a plane. I don't know enough about drones to dispute this, but I can't imagine it'd be easy to get a ton of drones all moving in a perfect formation like that, but maybe it actually is very easy and I'm just ignorant. All I know is that this clip is definitely weird, and I've watched it approximately 100 times, pausing and yelling at my editor to zoom and enhance, like I'm a CSI guy. If anyone in the comments can translate what's being said in the video, maybe that'll help out. Although I imagine it's mostly people just saying, look at that weird thing in the sky, what is that? And I feel like you've probably got more than enough of that from me in this video already. Number 2, South Africa. Our next clip is down in Zambia, South Africa, and it honestly looks like an arrival scene that came out of a movie. We can see 4 blindingly bright lights slowly coming forward in the night sky, offering absolutely no clue as to what this could possibly be. Now, the usual drone theory is definitely possible. We can consider this could be 4 drones moving in unison or something, but I don't know. It seems too perfect to be drones. Now, since it is in South Africa, I would be more than a little concerned that this could possibly be the prawns touching down, and I hope we all learned a very important lesson from District 9 about how to treat our alien friends. The clip in question also features an amazing narration, and I don't know how much of it we're allowed to include in here.
A lot of you are so smart. It's so intelligent. Tell me what this is. These things are so aligned. How does this happen?
But you can hear the camera guy just absolutely going off in like the funniest rant about how no one can explain what he's seeing, and if you'd like to come down and explain it for him, he includes his like GPS coordinates and everything. It is so funny, definitely worth looking up later. Now, some skeptics in the comment section have pointed out that this could very well be as easily explainable as lights from a crane or a lamppost on a football field or something, and yeah, it definitely does seem possible, but I'd like to see the same location in the daytime, see what's happening there. But it could also be something completely mysterious touching down and coming forward, and if you're so smart, you explain it to him. That's what he says in the thing. It's so funny. And number 1, Tom DeLong sighting. Now, I'm including this next one for a couple reasons. First and foremost, it's a very impressive clip of a UFO flying around, and when you watch it in a second, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But secondly, because it was shared by Tom DeLong, and I just love the fact that after selling out who knows how many Warped tours, the Blink-182 frontman spends his days looking for all the small things in the sky. That's a little Blink-182 joke for you. In his Instagram post, Tom writes that this clip changed the world. I'll let you decide for yourself. Now, for what it's worth, this clip really is something. DeLong included several alterations to the little clip. We got some thermals, enhancements, stabilization, and yet none of it really helps too much at being able to figure out just what exactly this is, if not a flying saucer. We can see this thing zipping around in the sky, and then it seemingly activates like warp speed because it just vanishes in the sky, going back to the mothership, I guess. Now, if you're looking at this and you think maybe it looks a little bit too good and you're like CGI radar is starting to go off, you are not entirely alone, because some commenters on this clip said that it looks too good and were suspicious. Doubly so because, well, Tom DeLong has spoken rather openly about his hopes to eventually turn his To the Stars research group into a multimedia empire, including movies and television and all sorts of stories to broadcast the truth. So it wouldn't be completely inconceivable that perhaps this could be faked. Although if you really did see a UFO, wouldn't it look fake to your eyes, It would look like something literally out of this world, and your brain would probably be scrambling a bit trying to make any sense of it whatsoever. One has to wonder, do you think there's ever been any like totally genuine UFO footage that has been dismissed and labeled as fake CGI because it just looks too perfect? Like, imagine we finally find aliens and we just dismiss them. Number 5, the craft's shot down. It has been a huge year for UFO enthusiasts like yours truly. Earlier, we got the release of the UAP reports from the Pentagon, which were basically the wildest documents in US government history, where the Pentagon confirmed they've been researching UFOs and kind of just slid it under the door like nobody cared. It made UFOs more than tinfoil hat talk, almost made discussions about it reputable. And I guess since then, that wasn't enough to keep us all entertained. As of last week, we've turned things up even more, since we've had 2 mysterious aircrafts shot down, and the United States and Canadian governments are being pretty cagey about it. So let's run through a quick timeline of what hopefully doesn't turn out to be Independence Day, and let's all pray we didn't kickstart an intergalactic war. On February 10th, a US fighter jet brought down a currently unidentified object soaring over the coast of Alaska. The object shattered into pieces after being shot down and was confirmed to most likely not be a balloon, according to the Department of Defense. I guess that's good to know, or not at all, since it doesn't answer anybody's questions. A White House official referred to the object as being the size of a small car, with enough room for a family of 4 to 5 aliens to fit comfortably, and you can put the back seat up and put some stuff in the storage. This would already be enough to fuel speculation for 10 years, and then literally the next day, February 11th, another unidentified flying object was shot down, this time over Canada, around the Yukon. That's the province that borders Alaska. A US flown F-22 Raptor shot down the second object, which was described as smaller than the first and cylindrical in nature. Okay, well, that's all the weird stuff that happened this week. Nope, because on the 12th, another strange object was shot shot down over Lake Huron. An object that first had appeared over Montana appeared on Sunday, which was then shot down. It was octagonal, apparently, and it had strings hanging off of it, but it wasn't carrying anything, so no one knows why. Maybe it was just an Amazon drone. Now, things keep getting weirder, I swear to you. Listen to this next part, you're not gonna believe this. When an Air Force commander, Glenn Van Herk, was asked directly on whether or not he thought any of these objects were alien in nature, he said, "I haven't ruled anything out at this point." What? I can't even speak, but the current sitting government officials are like, hey, maybe it's aliens, shrugging their shoulders. Is this it, guys? Is this it? They didn't specify whether or not these objects posed a threat. They said they just posed a threat to civilian air traffic, but the White House did say that these objects were broadcasting signals. I would say watch this space for updates, but really just like watch regular space. At this rate, there's gonna be an alien every single day. But if you can't wait for any more and you just want to watch alien videos all day, I completely agree with you. That's what I do every day and it's great. We've got loads of alien and UFO vids, NASA conspiracies, and hey, if that's not your jam, we got scary stories, horror movies, monsters, cryptids, true crime, baby, we got just about everything spooky under the sun and above it. So stay subscribed to Top 5 Scary, but most importantly, stay scared. But subscribe after. We gotta finish this video first. We got way more alien footage to get through. Moving on. Number 4, the Picket Post, Arizona sighting. Well, with all of this stuff flying around in the sky these days, is it any surprise that people are catching more weird footage than ever before? The UFO subreddit has been lit up like fireworks on the 4th of July with all kinds of alien sightings from all across the globe. Come take a look at some of the best ones I've seen this week. Hopefully they're new to you as well. Our first sighting comes to us from a redditor by the username of MaxKeller96, and they posted a short clip from Picket Post, Arizona that's got us talking. Take a quick little look-see. This is one of the better ones I've seen in a minute. Here's what the redditor had to say about the clip. My sister, dad, and I were out hiking near Picket Post when one of us noticed something glimmering near the mountain, so we stopped to take a look at it. All I could make out was that it was a small bright dot in the sky. After a good 15 seconds of staring, I started recording. It then dropped what looked like 2 flares, though my sister swears she counted at least 3. Up until that point, I thought it might have been a helicopter, as there's all sorts of army stuff out there, but there's no way anything can accelerate that fast. We all lost sight of it nearly instantly after the video cuts, and we were pretty freaked out about it. I've replayed it about 100 times, and I've tried showing it to everyone, and no one has any idea other than that it could be a super advanced drone. So, if you think you know, please let me know. Well, you heard the guy. If you think you have any ideas to what's going on, you comment down below or jump into the Reddit thread and participate in the UFO discussion. The UFO subreddit is great, and they're very friendly to new visitors. That's like their whole thing. They really want to welcome new visitors. Number 3, the San Diego sighting. The San Diego and Tijuana sighting, to be more accurate. Our next entry is a pretty interesting one because it isn't just one offhanded sighting that happened in the middle of the night by somebody stumbling out in a bathrobe who's half awake, but it's a corroborated sighting that was happening seemingly across the cities of Tijuana and San Diego. And it wasn't even while Comic-Con was happening, so this isn't part of an extremely elaborate campaign for Ant-Man 4 or anything. So we either have a mass hallucination on our hands because there was something in the water, or there's some questions in the sky that need to get answered. So we'll play a few seconds of some of these clips and help you come to your own conclusions. On September 19th, 2022, several of these videos were captured of these bizarre light patterns darting across the sky. This is a massive sighting, so we can't quite dismiss this as a trick of the light or one isolated incident. There was definitely something weird flying up and around. What makes this kind of notable, besides from, how well documented this is I would say the pattern of the lights. They don't really follow like a flare pattern at all, so I don't think it's something that was dropped from an aircraft. When you watch it, they almost kind of seem to move in like a perfect unison, like flashy geese. The original poster who posted the compilation clip to Reddit added as well that another oddity they noted was that after the lights were seen and military fighter jets surrounding and circling the skies, probably to round up whatever was going on. So, comment section, I'll throw it back to you again. What do you think? Spy drones, weird paranormal lights, or is it just visitors? I think it's alien tourists who heard what a great time a weekend in Tijuana is and want to check it out. Could you imagine if aliens do come to Earth, but they're not really interested in like diplomatic relations or starting a war or anything? They're just like, we heard you guys party hard and we want in on that. Number 2, Michigan and Grand Park. Another very weird sighting coming from Reddit. This one was posted not even 2 days ago by a Redditor with a very funny username I can't read out loud on YouTube, but just know it was very funny. At first, it kind of looks like a piece of litter that somehow managed to get all the way up in the sky and is fluttering and darting all around. But if you take a closer look at it, it really seems like it's moving like it's being controlled. People in the comments of the subreddit quickly pointed out that a similar object to this showed up in Australia when this one's filmed in Michigan. Isn't that odd? Two of these similar reports happening on almost opposite ends of the world. People in the subreddit theorize that this object in the video is one of the ones that was shot down over Lake Huron, which definitely makes sense. Lake Huron is, you know, in Michigan. Could this be some of the last footage of this alien craft before it got burnt up? From this clip, I would say to me personally, it looks like some sort of hyper advanced drone, maybe more than a piloted craft. It looks very small, so unless there's like a really teeny tiny little alien inside there, I don't know. But with all cell phone footage, you know, it's kind of impossible to ascertain the size of the thing. I think this one's pretty conclusive personally, and if this really is footage of the object that was shot down over Lake Huron, I would say the United States and Canadian governments agree with my assessment as well. But as all of these clips, please let me know what you think it is. If it's a drone or an alien or maybe just a really impressive kite that accidentally got destroyed. Number 1, the Colombia sighting. Now, our number 1 sighting is another international one. Hey, you think aliens are only gonna show up around North America? Come on, expand your worldview a bit. If aliens invade, they're gonna go after the whole planet. There's a whole lot to see, a whole lot of things they could burn down with lasers. And it seems like they were curious about the countryside of Colombia, because this footage out of Bogota, Colombia is truly out of this world. Seriously, this is like the most impressive UFO footage I've ever seen in my life. It was captured by a pro photographer who sent it along to a friend of his who's a YouTuber. Hey, reach out, let's collab. In the hopes of getting it to more eyes and people who can analyze it. And yeah, seriously, this is one of the most convincing things I've ever seen. Take a look. Now, I don't want to, you know, poke the bear too much. I know this sounds kind of annoying. I am almost of the belief that this footage is simply too good. I wouldn't outright throw it away and discard it, but I can't remember the last time I've ever seen UFO footage where the craft in this question is this clear and easy to make out. You can almost like make out sci-fi parts of it, you know? It looks to me like it wouldn't look too out of place in a cool video game like a Halo or something. If anyone's a Metroid fan, it reminds me a lot of like the ship that Samus flies around in. I'm just excited because they put Metroid Prime back out there. I think this raises kind of an interesting question and sort of a little like food for thought for debate. As camera quality improves and the average person is now at all times carrying with them a camera that rivals most professional quality, no doubt we're gonna start seeing more stuff like this. There's gonna be an influx of footage that starts to look much clearer, which then ironically ends up getting dismissed because it just looks too good and we assume it's been faked. We're used to blurry blobs shooting across the sky, and I think that's what we kind of think UFOs look like. It's a bit of a weird horseshoe where you kind of want alien footage to look bad so it's more believable. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling, maybe it all makes sense, but let me know what you think about this one. I think this is absolutely nuts, and I think this is the most exciting time to be into UFOs and UAPs as a whole, because it really feels like we're getting a breakthrough pretty soon. But maybe I just want to believe.